All right, go ahead, Court.
I need to tell the lady that is the head of the organization that put my local show on here last weekend that you definitely don't want to stand up in front of a group of artists and brag about having 130 applications for 90 spots.
That's
Right.
like Gracie Square.
Let her learn.
Gracie Square, before they went on Zap, they used to get something like that. And then all of a sudden the numbers doubled.
And I had there were probably 3 or 4 people there that had been in St. Louis and were either on their way home or filling a weekend between St. Louis and Plaza. I don't get some artists that either one don't have bags or use kitchen trash bags, the white bags with drawstrings to put art in.
I do. I wrap it in bubble wrap and put it in those bags.
A lot of there are states now that don't allow plastic bags, single-use plastic bags. Like,
Wait a minute. Does it count as double use if I use it to give it to them and then they take the work out and use it as a garbage bag? That's double use.
yeah, that's double use. Pittsburgh,
beats
they
that
don't,
one.
you can't get a
So
plastic bag when you go shopping.
So this wouldn't help for all mediums, but some shows hand out satchels with the show name on it, or they sell them. But that's one way to to remedy it. And again, it wouldn't help. Like if you're selling pottery, it has to be packaged so it's going to get home safe.
Yeah, certain pieces have boxes.
I was amazed at the number of people that didn't have any kind of bags at all. And people are walking around trying to juggle 3 or 4 pieces they got from the same artist.
That's tough. You got to put it in something. I mean, I wrap it in bubble wrap.
That must have been the artist's first show.
No, it wasn't. I mean, the frame print that I sold, I put cardboard corners on it so people wouldn't cut themselves because the metal frames are sharp. Then wrapped some stretch wrap around those to keep those on. Then wrapped all that up in a clear trash bag.
Yeah, you want them to get the piece home in good condition. You don't want them to come back to you saying, I walked into a wall.
So you do use plastic bags, Court?
Yeah, no, it's just that using clear plastic bags is one thing, but using something that is obviously a trash bag is something different.
Yeah,
It just doesn't,
Thing.
doesn't send a good message to me.
It's the same thing.
no, it's not the same thing. Clear bags are great. I still have all my bags from when I did shows.
And I'm not talking about just, putting the work in the clear bags that you use it for display. I'm talking about, putting it something when people buy 2 or 3 pieces,
Well, California now has rules, no plastic bags after, I don't know, the end of the year or something, so everything has to be paper.
Or it could be satchels. So
Yeah, but ecologically, they went from paper to plastic. So now they're going back to paper again?
Yeah.
Yep.
Compost.
It was interesting. Oklahoma City requires all of their food vendors to use compostable packaging for the food.
That is actually pretty amazing for Oklahoma City. I'm actually really surprised.
And
That's
not
actually
just
weird,
any
too.
compostable packaging. It's got to be certified by a certain group, because some of the stuff that's marketed as as you're able to compost, still leaves behind plastics.
Well, as a jeweler, it's really easy for me. I give them these cloth bags that I make, or I do have to give boxes. They're small though, and usually they could fit them in their purse. But I have, if I buy a dozen little like paper bags, kind of nice ones, in like 5 years, I threw them.
I have a plastic bag that's the size of my small prints. That's just a
Sandwich
flat
bag.
plastic bag with a handle.
Sandwich bag.
Depends on your medium.
Yeah.
Right. But no matter what, they have to get the work home
And
in one piece.
how many pieces you average a week or a show?
I buy like 500 bags at a time, last me for quite a while.
Well, 500 boxes, I wouldn't get any pots in the van because it would all be boxes.
Oh,
You can use the one you transport your pots in.
No.
No?
Well, I do for bigger pieces. There's one in each
Yeah.
one, but no. They go into bins. I use bins.
Oh.
They're easier to carry. And guess what? When it rains, they don't just decompose.
in any case, packaging is important to think about, for the customer, and especially if you're shipping things,
Shipping's
that there's
totally
just some,
different.
right. But there's just like something, I mean, I get it with certain things you just can't, you can't really do anything about it. But like if I have somebody coming to pick up an order, I'll put it in the bag that it comes in and let them open it, so there's still that sense of the reveal,
I use a decent
rather than
amount of bubble wrap.
Mhm. Well, you have to with ceramics.
I do.
I used to use bubble wrap bags, but I got them from Uline and decided I didn't want to deal with Uline anymore. So,
Right. So I read that I was looking up the Oklahoma City show, and 400 people applied to that. So that's not that for 250. I think it's 250 spots. I might be wrong with that number.
well, no, it's
You
less
can-
than that, because they're still giving people automatic.
Yes.
So they may have 250 booths, but figure only a third of those are going to be open.
Allison, you can get in there. I wouldn't worry about that.
You know what? I'm not going to apply. It's between the hours, and I would really feel,
Huh?
the thing is, taking a risk on a show
Yeah.
like that, it's
My
like
daughter.
4.5. Wait,
It's
It
not a
pays.
talking.
it's not a 6-day show anymore.
People
Yeah,
do
it's
all
four and a
that.
half. It's 4.5 days.
It's actually a 1-day show.
No, it's only 4 days. It
Wait,
starts on
someone's on the
Thursday, doesn't it?
phone. Someone's on the phone, I think.
That was me. I forgot to mute my mute
Ah.
button.
Okay.
They're
But the thing is, if it's a 1-day show and you're there for like 40 hours, then that's not worth it to me. I mean,
what I mean is, what I mean by that is, I should define that. It seemed to me like every time I did it that the weather would be bad or something, it would be something, and then one day would be really nice, and that's when everybody would come.
Right.
So basically, and it could be any of the days when it was Wednesday,
Sure.
Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, or maybe it did start on Tuesday. It would be like, there'd be one day when it was really good, at least for me.
Hmm. But for all those hours, it just can't be an average show. You know what I mean? For the time that it takes to be there,
Well,
the
it's all
commitment.
different. It's a totally different entity in that, they take the money. They
Oh,
still
right,
take the
that I
money,
understand. Yes.
and then
I
pay.
thought,
You give
I
you.
thought that changed.
I thought that, what, after I said that, I thought it changed also.
I thought I read that they do, and then you get paid, I don't know,
Well,
they
that's
tell
the
you.
way it used to be.
That part I
Mhm.
like. Because then they take care of the tax. They
Right.
take care of all that stuff.
Right.
I always did all right there. And you know what? You
But
can raise your price.
doing all right though for those hours just doesn't seem acceptable to me. Do you know
Can
what
I
I'm
ask what
saying?
show
Like,
this is?
it's
What,
Oklahoma City for the Arts. I've never done it.
Festival of the Arts.
Festival of the Arts. And it just and it's 4.5. So there's a preview evening, like from what, 5 to 9, and then the days are, I don't know, 11 to 9, 4 days,
You know
something
what?
like that.
It
Sunday,
used to
Sunday
be
ends
like
early.
Hmm.
it used to be like doing you're doing 2 3 day. I looked at it as you're doing 2 3 day shows, except you didn't have to move in between, and you didn't have to pack up, and you didn't have to set up again. So that's, to me, that's what it was like. That's
Hmm.
how I looked at it. 2 3 day
I
shows.
understand that, but it's still, for all that, you want to be able to, blast it out of the park
I mean,
for
yeah, I did it in the 90s, and
When it was really
it was good. I never had a bad show there.
Mhm. I mean, our time is definitely worth something, right? I mean,
really,
yes.
that's new for me.
Yeah.
So, I could make the same or better at a show where the hours are 10 to 5, you
There you
know,
go.
as with the hours that are, 10 to 10.
You're making an executive decision. The thing is,
Yeah.
there's no guarantee
Well,
at any of these shows.
I'm the CEO, so it's all right.
Yeah, I know. You don't have to ask yourself if you can go on your lunch break.
The buck
It's more,
stopped here.
right. It's more like, oh, it's 2 o'clock. I never had my lunch break.
That's how it usually is for me.
Right.
Which reminds me, I didn't take my meds today. I
Mm.
bought one of those things, the day thing, so I remember I'd have it. You know, I'm gonna do it right now.
You, you need to leave it on the kitchen table.
Something like that.
Do an alert on your phone.
Yeah. Because you'll get tired of that and you'll ignore it. I keep,
So
I do 2 weeks at a time. And I
what day
keep
is
it in the
today?
kitchen.
Wednesday. Tuesday. See, I got a thing.
Yeah, no, I got something too. But I keep it on the kitchen table.
Oh, I keep it right in front of me. It doesn't matter. I'll still forget. Meanwhile, tomorrow I get to find out whether I have lung cancer or just or an infection or nothing.
Oh, geez.
Because yesterday I had to go. I went to the doctor yesterday because there was, well, I won't go into that part, but and he suggested I get a chest X-ray and blood work, and they were going to let me know tomorrow, I think. I'm only saying this because I don't believe that I have that I think it's the minor thing because it's the symptoms have already cleared up. So
Well,
Well,
good.
right, Barry.
what's that?
I hope you're right.
So do I. Because that's a real battle. Getting cancer is a battle.
Been there, done that
Really.
30 years ago.
and you're alive. That's so reassuring.
They told me I had a 30% chance of living 5 years without chemo and a 60% chance of living for 5 years with chemo.
And did you get the
30
chemo?
30 years is pretty good.
Did you
Yeah.
get the chemo?
Hmm?
Did you get the chemo?
Yes, I got the chemo.
Mhm.
It's different now. I guess it's not as torturous, but I
I
don't know
hope
that.
so.
I hope so. Well, I hope I don't have to find out, but
Yeah.
Yes, well,
Right, may you
different
not-
cancers have
may you
different
not find out.
treatments.
Yeah, I had colon cancer 20 years ago.
Oh,
That's what I had.
But it never metastasized.
That's
They
good.
caught it really early.
mhm.
I didn't need chemo. I didn't need anything.
Well, that's
That's great.
great.
Yeah. Do we all in this group get their
Colonoscopy.
colonoscopies?
We talked about that when you were scheduling for yours.
Oh yeah. I remember that, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I put a page up on my website.
About me?
Colonoscopy saved my life. No,
Oh, really?
about me.
Really?
Yeah. And then a whole timeline of what I went through. Because if you don't talk about it, nobody's going to know.
Mhm.
Well, what's amazing to me is, we're having this discussion and all you people are talking about your cancer that you had. Who would have thought that? I mean, it's common. People, and then they survive.
My younger sister had a swollen thyroid, so they took out one lobe and sent it to a pathologist who said it's okay, and then they sent it to another pathologist, said nope, it's cancer. So they took out the other lobe and they sent it to a pathologist, and he said, oh, it's got a different cancer than the first one.
Wow.
So she
Really?
had two kinds of colon cancer while she had an autoimmune disease, I mean, thyroid cancer. Well, she had two kinds of thyroid cancer. Well, she had an autoimmune disease that was going to kill her thyroid.
Here's
At the
what
same time.
bothers me about what you're saying. You had three different doctors and three different diagnoses. That's scary.
Is she okay today?
Yeah,
But
Yeah.
it's scary,
she has to
isn't
take
it?
thyroid every day because she doesn't have
Right.
any thyroid in her body, but
Right.
it's 15 years.
Yeah, that's pretty it's
Yeah.
amazing, really.
Mhm.
And I'm sure nowadays they use AI.
Well, they did a pathology report while she was under to determine whether they would take out the rest. And they did it fast because she was under. And they said, it looks okay, but we're going to send it off to somebody else who has better equipment and go do a more thorough job. Thinking it was going to come back, probably going to come back okay. And it came back, nope, there was cancer there.
Hmm.
So everybody was very professional about it. The second surgery was easier for her because she was under far less time. And she was, on a breathing tube for both of them. And so being on a breathing tube for a shorter time was much easier to recover from than being on one for longer.
I have a friend that went in for skin cancer and they did the same thing. They sent it out to the lab. The lab looked at it and said, the margins aren't clear. You didn't get enough. Did that 3 times before they came back and said, you finally got it all.
Yeah. Well, I had a
Sometimes we have-
significant part of my prostate removed in late June or early July with no incision. They stuck tubes up my urethra
And
and
sucked it
surgery
out.
that way.
They sucked it out.
Well, I'm sure there was a certain amount of cutting going on. But yeah, they
Well,
sucked
there's
it up.
TURP,
Hmm?
TURP, TURP, TURP. Transurethral resection of prostate.
Okay.
That's Dr.
You
Katie.
can you can just tell people you had a TURP.
Um,
And I have a friend who's a urologist, and I was concerned. And so he asked me how old I was, and he says, "Don't even bother. We don't do anything after you get to a certain age. 75, they don't remove it."
So along the same lines, but to bring it back to art fairs, we have no idea sometimes what our booth neighbors are going through.
yeah, because especially since they're next to us.
Or, you know, a few down, other artists at shows that we're doing.
Yeah.
Allison, did you fill out the survey for St. Louis?
I did.
I thought it was interesting that they specifically ask about enforcement of the rules.
Oh, yes, you're right. I'm always for that.
I mean, that's not
Um,
not something you normally see on a post-show survey.
Well, I think it's important for them. You know, they're pretty diligent, so they want to know if people give a damn about it or not, I guess. I mean, you know, there are so few shows with those types of rules, like where the artist has to, you know, you can't have manufactured things, all of that. And it does protect people who, you know, are
I thought that they had, when I read in somewhere an email or something from them, it sounded like they kind of stressed staying in your 10 by 10 space. And
Mhm.
one of my neighbors was halfway out into, well, the booth across the gap. They were really nice
Mhm.
people, but they were kind of spread out halfway into the aisle between.
I find the
Amateurs.
so wait, the booths at that show are set up in quads, so everyone has a corner. And so each quad has what, about 5-6 feet between the next quad,
No,
as opposed
it's
to,
about 10 feet.
oh, it's not okay.
Yeah.
So
It
the
basically
point,
looks like they just took out every
a
third
booth.
booth.
Mhm.
We
Well,
back to
then,
talking about Oklahoma.
no,
No,
excuse me,
St.
St.
Louis.
Louis.
Oh,
but
St. Louis.
my point is that I think given that space in between, and it's not, I mean, customers could walk through there, but generally people walked up and down the
Mhm.
streets. So
Yeah.
I thought like quite a few people were using that space. You know, I'm the opposite. I'm like completely in my booth. Like people have to actually walk in to see my work. It's not at the edge.
I
Um,
know,
and
and we're
I
thankful for that.
well, I do that on purpose, but
It's one of my pet peeves, people gaming the system by moving out as far as they can.
uh, well, um, you know, for me, I see it as a benefit, and people do come in. But the
Yeah.
point is having that excess space outside the booth. That's not the aisle, but it's, you know, the area that's not a tent in between the spaces. I mean, I love having that space. It's just that I do think some people kind of use that a little more in a free
Yeah, I
form
hate
kind of
that.
way. I mean, it didn't seem burdensome. It's just that, you know, I want people to be able to walk through those
Yeah.
areas.
I look at it as a common space between the two artists.
Right.
So don't take the
Well,
space.
yeah.
I mean, I've had people next to me that decided that they're going to take the space because I leave a certain amount of space, I mean, let's say the border is a foot in, a foot away.
Mhm.
So I expect the person on the other side of me to make that same space, so it's a common area we can walk through. And some
Right.
people just, not only do they take their space, but oh, he's leaving this space, so I'm gonna take his space too. Like, come on. How about some common sense there?
So they were really they offered, escorts on a cart for jewelers at the show. And there was a neighbor of mine who came over to my booth and he was photographing this guy and who was he was first. And and then he spoke with Eric because I was talking with the customer, and then they went over to the police, to security, and security followed this guy for a while. And anyway, so then we were completely paranoid. And at the end of the evening, and it was 9 o'clock at night, we asked and we got a ride back to the hotel with a cop. I'd rather have walked, but it was really nice that they concern themselves with those issues.
I'm surprised
Where
that
some, yeah,
that that a show like St. Louis, a higher end show, would have to have escorts because because there's some threat.
well, it's a public street and
There's a
it's in a
threat at every
city.
show.
Yeah. It's, and the thing is, we don't really know for sure. It's just that my friend who came over to my booth was robbed at a different show a couple years ago. And so he's on hyper alert. And so he was, telling me what he thought. And I knew who he was talking about. And you sometimes, you're not accusing anyone, but you get a hinky feeling and you kind of have to go with your instincts.
Well, there's ways to set up a jewelry booth to to use your cases
Okay,
as
no, stop.
barrier.
You're walking to your hotel, somebody pulls a gun out, has nothing to do with your booth. That's what we're
That's
talking
true.
about. I mean, so
That's what happened.
No, nothing happened at this show. But
I mean, it's like
you
I told the lady this past weekend that putting booth numbers on the parking passes was not a good idea. It's a
Right.
security issue.
Right.
Um,
And so, I mean, it's just sometimes, I mean, you don't know if you're being scoped or not, but that they bring it to awareness to the other artists also is really nice because sometimes you're out to dinner and your pottery friend will say, hey, did you sell any jewelry today? You can't do that. So it's important for everyone to be aware.
Wow, somebody did that.
It's happened. I mean, look, the TSA once did it in Denver. Do you have jewelry in here?
I
They
asked
said
that
it like,
question because I go out to dinner with jewelers, and there's an unwritten there's a rule. You don't bring it up. You don't say all
yeah,
that stuff.
but
I
here's
thought
the
everybody
thing.
knew that.
No, not everybody knows that. I did it without knowing it. Didn't even think about it.
right. And that's okay. I mean, that's why, awareness is raised. I mean, right?
Yeah.
That's all. I'm not blaming anyone for anything. It's nice that the show acknowledges the world we live in. And, it's just the reality.
Yeah.
I mean, shows can do everything and still not prevent that from happening. Because,
Yep.
there are professionals out there.
Do you think it's getting worse?
Well, I could tell you that metals prices are so high. And I think that might be a reason. I mean, it's ridiculous how expensive gold is now. You know, we you know, we're not living on a gold standard, so it shouldn't really be. And the truth is, my work is like really, I have gold in it, but it's labor. That's where the real cost. You know, I've had people ask me, "Oh, if you made this in all silver, would it be cheaper?" Like some bracelet that's taken me 4 months to make, and no, it's so much work.
Looks like I was talking with somebody and, you know, they looked at my prices framed versus unframed. They said, oh, you know, you're losing money on the framing. It's like, no, the value isn't in the framing. The value is in the freaking piece of artwork.
Right,
So yeah,
right.
Unless you make your frames.
True, true.
yeah, I don't. So
Now, I
And
don't
then
know
frames,
I don't know how true this is, but we had a gallery, and when we used to sell stuff, people were taking the work out of the frames because they were kind of cheaper, and putting them in really expensive frames. Does that still
Oh.
exist?
well, I don't use cheap frames and I use good glass. So, you know, when people start kind of balking at the frame price, you know, I ask them, you know, is it the price? Because I guarantee you will not get it framed like this
At
for
this
that
price.
cost.
Yeah,
You know, because basically I mark it
Mhm.
up my cost plus a little bit, and that's it.
yeah.
right.
And you're really not
Oh, and
making
then
a profit on it because
No,
the incidentals and everything eats it up.
And
you know,
then
but
people might have certain design things. So, but your
right.
frames are, you know, they don't compete like with the work and
You know, I don't. My mats are only a couple inches around, and some people may want a bigger mat and a different frame. That's
Yeah.
fine.
Mhm.
And I put all my stuff. All my stuff is put together in such a way that it comes apart real easily.
Mhm.
So I need to run. I'll see you all. Catch you all next week.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right, take
All right.
care.
See you,
Bye.
Court.
Bye.
So,
Where's Oscar?
getting my
He didn't show
something
up
to
today.
do. He had something to do. I forgot what. But so I am having to soon get my images ready to apply. I usually do a set of 5, a set of 4, and just use those for the whole application year. And throughout the year, I'll take images and put them in a file called tentative jury images.
Yeah.
You know, and then Eric and I will look at that and overanalyze it and try to figure out what to do.
Now, I'm going to try something. I'm going to use the same images that I thought were the best images I ever had last year and got rejected from every good show and and even some bad shows. So at first I thought, well, I got to do all those images. And then I thought, no, I'm going to believe in my images and it's all totally different jurors. So I'm using the same images.
Mm-hmm.
And if the jurors are equally as incompetent, I guess I'll get rejected. That's how I have to
So,
look at it.
so I was going to apply to the Smithsonian, which I've never gotten into,
Yeah.
and I looked at the archives of my images, and so I didn't apply every year, but it's been like 20 years, and I get into really good outdoor art fairs, and
Yeah.
then I also looked at the jurors, and I decided not to apply. I mean, I've had like really solid images over the last, I don't know, decade, but I thought, well, this year's images while they'll be different than last year's, they're still in the same realm. And of course, it's supposed to be, you know, the jury will be different theoretically, right? But I don't
think
know. I
so.
mean, I think that, you know, there are some shows that people never get into, and we'll never know why. But I decided not to apply.
I've always thought with the Smithsonian and Philadelphia shows that there's an East Coast bias, and there's some people that do it every year, so they're familiar with them. You know, they get in automatically, and they're considered great because they live on the East Coast. And how could
I don't know if
anybody
we
anywhere else but the East Coast be any good? And
I don't know if we
so,
could say that though.
well, I just did. You know,
Yeah, but based on nothing really. I mean, we'd have to look at like the last 5 years and see how many people were from to really know if that's true. Because I know
yeah,
people from the West Coast who've gotten in, or from the mountain states. I mean,
yeah. I'm talking about in general, and
yeah,
more
but
like
unless we have actual numbers, it's just
yeah, more like Philadelphia
anecdotal.
than Philadelphia more than Smithsonian.
Hmm.
It's really
Well,
a
you could,
risk, and it's expensive all the way around to
sure,
do it.
but an indoor show, what a luxury, right? Not worrying about the weather as much.
Yeah, I've done them.
I used to do more indoor shows.
I know.
Some have gone away.
Hey, I like indoor shows even in the summer because they have air conditioning, humidity control, and you just turn off your lights and walk out, and then you come back in the morning, and nothing's gone.
Well, not as a jeweler. Unfortunately, you still have to take your work up, but
Really? In
that's,
an indoor
oh,
event?
Yeah,
absolutely,
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
yeah.
I'm naive.
It's, you know, if you're talking about opportunity, then that's opportunity.
So, okay, Ellison. So who, and I'm not refuting this. I believe you. I agree with you. I'm just wondering, just in analyzing it, is it going to be other artists that are going to take your jewelry? Is it going to be the maintenance people that work there? You know, the
Security.
cleaning, the security.
There are
You know,
gangs that, you know, come in and, you know, act like they're couples or things like that. There's all kinds of I can't tell you the demographic of the jewelry thieves these days. Honestly, I
I'm
don't
talking about
know.
after like in the evening after the show closes and
Well,
everybody's gone.
somebody could leave a door open accidentally. I mean, a friend of mine was doing a
Done
show
that
at a convention
accidentally.
center, and
Yeah,
the building was not secure, and
amazing.
it was supposed to be.
Yeah,
And,
right.
you know, and remember, jewelry often is very small, so it's
Yes.
easy to lift.
Hmm.
So that then you have a tragedy.
So are perfume bottles when you have a big purse.
I
And,
suppose so,
and
but
you
they
know
could
what?
break and spill.
You, you can't tell by looking at the person. It could be somebody that looks like they could have thing. And
That's
it's I
right.
don't know if it's a game or whatever, or there's a psychological problem there. But there
It's a profession. It's a profession. There are professional jewelry thieves.
no, I'm
I
not
mean,
talking about those people. I'm talking about the person that lives down the street, the multimillionaire woman with a big purse, and it's a thing. There's a sickness that they take stuff.
oh, do you know, have you experienced this happen?
Yeah, in a gallery with a camera,
Oh,
camera in the back, and so you can see everything that's going on out front.
got it. Yeah, well, that is a sickness.
It was amazing. Like, come on. Be one thing if you were poor, you could almost see it, even though you can't. But if you were rich, you don't need it. It's what is it? It becomes a game or something. Can I take this?
Right. But you know, as far as who steals jewelry, I mean, imagine there are people who are out there that work in teams and they
Mhm.
scout. And, you know, I really don't know exactly what, you know, as I say with my work, they'd be disappointed because it's mostly labor. Um,
But
but
it looks rich.
mhm,
It's artistic or autistic, take your pick.
yeah,
Um,
no thanks.
so
That might
just to
be,
play on words, that's all.
that might make it harder to fence.
Oh,
Like,
Allison's
and
work,
melting
you
it
couldn't
down
fence
for
Allison's
paint
work.
or
You'd have to
something.
give it away as presents.
Yeah, but they probably melt it down
Well,
when,
they
I
have
think
to
when
have,
jewelry's
they have to have a fence.
Yeah,
right.
That could be a jewelry store owner.
It could. Because if you, let's say I want to take scrap gold or customers of mine give me their old jewelry, right, for
Yeah,
credit, and I take it to a place, you can't just
right.
walk in the door. So, I mean, you have to have an account and you have
Uh-huh.
to, they have to have your social security number. You have to be, um, you know, fill out a form and, you know, and go through, it's not a hard process, but you have to go through an application process. You know, and uh, in order to send your materials in, your raw materials in to either get more raw materials back or to get a check,
Mhm.
cash, you know. So, but I'm sure, I would guess if somebody stole jewelry, there might be a middle person, but they will, you know, where they would get just cash, and then middle person might, you know, have the means to take it to somebody who can melt it down or whatever the case may be. So, I mean, again, I don't really know the inner workings of this world, but I can't imagine they're selling actual jewelry. They're probably just stealing it for the raw material value,
When,
given
Mhm.
you know, when Trisco, had that major robbery, they went into his hotel room.
Mhm.
I don't know who this is, but
He ended up finding some of his jewelry at a jewelry store.
wow.
Really? It sounds like he
So
thought,
who,
hey, I'm just gonna go check out some jewelry stores and see, and he found one. That's like a
that's
needle in a
actually
haystack.
that's amazing because the jewelry store, like if a customer gave me some jewelry to get rid of, if I went into a jewelry store, nobody's going to buy it from me. So, like, how did that jewelry store get the jewelry in the first place? I mean,
Well,
that's
They
just,
bought it.
they were
yeah,
fenced.
but
They
right,
did buy it.
from somebody, but you can't, like, most jewelry stores are not just blindly buying. You know, people always ask me if I want to buy stones, like
Mhm.
their mother, brother, uncle, someone died,
Yeah,
right? And they have all these stones, and I have no idea who they are. It's like I'm also not a gemologist, and I don't want anything to do with those stones because I don't know anything about it.
yeah.
And who knows, maybe they're lying, maybe they're stolen. So um yeah, it's I mean, that jewelry store, I mean, what, so do you know the rest of the story then? This person found the jewelry in the store, and what happened?
Well, I'm assuming he went to the police at that point, or
Mhm.
he didn't. He
Right,
didn't leave the store. He called the police.
right. Because that jewelry store, I would think, would be in a lot of trouble.
But after that robbery, every time you saw his booth, they had an armed guard there with them.
Oh, geez.
Really?
Yeah.
I never saw an armed guard ever at Trisco's booth. Ian.
And where,
Ian was the armed guard, probably.
No, I remember being across from them at a show in Atlanta, and they had an armed guard.
wow. I wonder how that is for business. You know what I mean? It's just
Well, it lets people know you have valuable stuff.
right, but for the buyers, I mean, it just doesn't feel very fun. You know what I mean?
No,
Might
I think it would
uh,
chase people away.
Well, some of them, it might make them feel like maybe, hey, this stuff is really good. They even have to have a guard on it.
Right.
You know,
Maybe.
It's all
feel safe
perceived
while you're
value.
in it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not
Well-
contributing to this conversation at all. I will push off. See you in a week or two.
Hey, Frank, I added 3 more websites to larryberman.com.
Okay.
That's
You
all.
want me to look at them or,
You can look at them.
okay. Bye-bye.
All right. See ya.
Bye.
See you, Frank.
Hey, Barry, there's going to be a Tom Petty documentary movie in the theaters for 2 nights.
Ooh.
Oh, yeah.
October 20th and October 17th,
Where you live.
all over the country.
Really?
I want to see it.
Probably not in Marquette, Michigan.
Well, you just do a search and put in your zip code and it'll show you whatever theaters it's playing at that's close to you.
Yeah. What's the date?
The
The dates?
October 17th and 20th.
Oh, you know what? I probably won't be back here. I'll be driving all over the country, driving back from wherever I'm going.
It's a Thursday and a Saturday.
So Kaylee, how was the what's it called? The
Comic-Con,
yes.
tiring. We had
Mhm.
our volunteer appreciation dinner this weekend. What else? The person in charge of the art show's finances had a death in the family, so he was a little late getting information in, but he did it within 2 weeks of the show. However, they
Mhm.
messed up at the main office. So
Oh.
checks have not gone out yet because we had a commission for the first time this year. And
Oh, right.
he subtracted it from, what, hey, this is what you owe the artist, send a check. That's more or
Mhm.
less what he put on it. But they didn't, for some reason, notice that he had taken out the commission, so they deducted the commission a second time.
I.
So they have to recut all the checks.
It's a long time though, right? Wasn't that in July or something?
Yeah, the last week of July or
Wow,
almost
that's a
the
long.
Well, like I said,
Hmm.
the person at the art show had his stuff done despite family problems.
Right.
The office didn't.
Mhm.
And then they messed up, so they had to redo everything.
Mhm. Well, they've got to get that out to you, get you paid.
Oh yeah. The guy at the art show did send everybody their paperwork, and he said these are the things that sold. This is the total in sales. This is what we took out in commission, and
Mhm.
this is the total you'll get for it.
Mhm.
And that's what I need mostly, but other people, they need that check too.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, I need it eventually, but I'm not desperate to, pay rent and groceries with it.
Right. Right. But still, I mean,
But there were 116 people. It was all
mhm.
indoor with
Uh-huh.
AC, padded carpet, and all that. So yeah, that part was nice, but it was a half-mile walk to the main convention, and in the sun.
Uh-huh.
It's changed in that now there's a lot of public coming in to buy
Mhm.
versus people that are there for the convention necessarily. And previously, when it was in the convention center along with the rest of the convention, you had artists up there more or less putting their stuff on display for agents to come and look at. Now the agents don't have the time to walk down there, look, and walk back.
Oh,
'Cause, you know, that would take them like an hour. And they
Oh,
can't
wow.
leave their booths or whatever they're doing for that long of a time. So that's kind of bad for them. But for those that are there to sell mainly, you know, the public is invited now, so that expands the market. And there's a whole street fair going on, but again, that's about half to a full mile away.
huh. And
Most of the-
so how did it go? I mean, did you and the others do all right reasonably well? You know,
I paid almost as much for parking for 2 days as I did for space in the show.
oh.
So that cut into my
I mean,
profit.
is it possible to bring up, like for next year, getting free parking for the exhibitors?
No, they won't give you free parking. The parking is through, I don't know, whoever's in charge of Harbor. It's a, you know, government thing for the convention center.
Right.
But it's
Oh,
contracted
that's-
through Ace Parking,
Mhm.
who can't charge more than $25 a day for their contract with the city or county or whoever. But then
Mhm.
if you want to reserve that, you do get a special thing from, you know, if your staff could reserve it, that they charge you a $7 a day convenience fee.
Oh my God, that's outrageous.
So, yeah.
That is so people who work there have to pay.
There's private lots that are charging $100 a day.
Oh my God. Wow.
And there's people coming down from Hollywood that,
Right. Wow.
yeah.
Just
But there's
seems like they should be able to budget in at least a discounted rate for you. I mean,
No, well, there's, in a way it is in that it's, you know, limited space in those cheap lots, but
Mhm.
that's the city contracted price,
right.
you know. And some of the other contracted ones are 35 a day, depending on where it is. But like I said, the
Mhm.
private lots, they don't have to, they can jack them up as much as they want.
Wow.
I only had 2 days that I had to take the car. So,
Mhm.
that was, you know, the day I set up and then the day I took stuff home. I
Sure.
took the trolley the other days.
Mhm.
You know, I can't, and there's some people able to take the trolley to and from. Because there have been jewelry people there that they're coming down from Orange County or LA on
Right.
the coast. They just have 2 roll-ons with them
Mhm. Right. Right.
up there. And they don't have to stay with the stuff because it's sort of a gallery type show rather than a sitting, you know, in your booth type show.
Sure. Yeah.
Or it's
Hmm.
supposed to be. There's one artist there that has been there every year. She has 4 little pictures, and those are the same 4 she's had for the entire time she's been doing this. And she'll
Oh.
grab people as they walk by and tell them all about it and about the book she's written. And she has
Wow.
to be told, don't do that. So, but she's coming in.
She's accosting people. Is that what it sounds like?
Yeah, essentially. She's
Huh.
a little strange. She's Harley Quinn every year.
Mhm.
And 2 pictures of Harley Quinn and 2 of Joker. And those are the 4 pictures she has. They look like
Wow.
something a middle schooler would have done.
Oh.
Yeah, they'd be cute as something, but they're not for sale. She's just showing them.
Oh. Interesting.
Yeah,
Huh.
but yeah, she comes from Sweden every year.
Oh. So I don't understand that at all. Is that
I don't
to
either.
be
Maybe
okay?
she gets some sort of tax thing because she's in a show that, you know,
Mhm.
she can deduct her trip or something. I don't know.
Right.
But
Huh.
she must be close to 50, little
Mhm.
tiny thing. But, you know, people might look at it and say, oh, well, that's kind of cute. And, you know, that's all they want to do is say that and leave. She'll
Right.
buttonhole them and tell her all about them and how Harley Quinn loves Joker and Joker loves Harley Quinn and,
Hmm.
you know, interested. But there's a lot of first time kids that put stuff up there. And then
Mhm.
there's people that are, you know, selling at art fairs there.
Right. Right.
Some of those have problems because their thing is set up so they have QR codes that people are supposed to, you know, rather than putting out business cards, but no photography is allowed in the art show.
Mhm.
So they can't use the QR codes. And it didn't matter that, you know, they were told that
Oh.
on the application that, hey, you know, no
Right.
wrong
Right.
with that, but, you know, have it on a print that they could take with them,
Right.
as no photography. Or
So
if you want,
go ahead. Sorry.
if you do want a picture of like your booth, you can have that taken, but as long as a member of the staff stands with you and
Oh,
so
interesting.
legit. Well, people want a picture of their booth usually.
Right. Sure. Of course. Yeah.
So
So
that's fine. But
on a different note, a lot of people, not, I just hear a lot of banter. It's an election year, sales are down, this kind of thing. And personally, if I'm doing an art fair, like I block all that out, you know, and it's kind of like day one rather than what the last show brought. And I don't know,
I
Barry, are
don't
you
know
hearing a lot of that?
it didn't make a difference really. Overall, sales were up
Oh,
for us. Mine were down a bit, but you know, different people coming, different, you know, things I brought. So
right.
never
Well, that's
know.
interesting. That's good to hear. I
But
mean, you know, it's a totally different market. And so that's
yeah,
interesting to hear.
well, there's a
Whoa.
lot. I have a lot of $10 earrings,
Mhm.
you know, because there's a lot of college students, high school students,
Yeah.
or you know, their mom hands them $10 and lets them buy whatever they want for it, type of thing, which you know
Right.
might get them a hint or whatever they wanted. But
Mhm.
there was
Do
a
they have
ceramic,
any
by the way, not raccoon,
part?
but I was telling Barry there was a
Yeah.
ceramics person there, and this year, for the first time, he packed things well enough that they arrived unbroken.
Now, do they have a record or like a way of knowing what attendance was? I would imagine they would.
Yeah, yeah. There's a maximum ticket sale to the convention, but they don't all come down, especially now that you know it's a half-mile walk to get there.
Mhm.
But the art show engineer does keep records on how many sign up for bidding numbers or that purchased.
Uh-huh.
Those were both up slightly too, but the sales were up overall, which is nice. So
Barry, have you been hearing anything like those muttering shows?
Huh? I'm falling asleep. Ask me that again.
Pay attention, young lad.
Ask me
We're
that
talking.
again. I'm seriously
We're,
nodding out. Ask me that
are
again.
we're
people concerned about the politics of the economy and attending and buying at your shows?
You
and
know,
it's an
I try and
election
stay,
year.
you know what? I purposely try and stay out of it.
But have you heard mutterings of such things?
Yeah. and you know what? It'll be what it'll be, and it'll happen when it happens. My personal my personal thought is that once the election's over, it'll get back to normal.
Well, it depends, of course, but
That's funny. Not
yeah,
necessarily.
but it's funny but true. But
Yeah,
in any
maybe.
case, like I don't know, my feeling is from show to show, I try not to drag the old show to the new, it's just
That's right.
brand new, and you just kind of, put your show face on and try to just be in good spirits.
I think there was more politics in the main convention vendor area than in the art show.
And politics regarding what, like what aspect?
Well, like mad cartoonists are there with little booths, and you can get
Oh.
their work. A lot of them are politically oriented.
Oh,
Other
that
people
sounds interesting.
Yeah, Tom Richardson. I bought one of his new book, which was about movies, but he does do political type stuff.
Hmm. So I'm
Some
not saying, but I'm not talking about political art, and there's nothing
No,
wrong with that.
but there were Trump costumes there that were not particularly flattering.
Hmm.
And I remember when Obama was running the first time, there was a guy dressed up like him and looked like a young version of him. He included two men in black with him with their, earphones and dark glasses on, so they looked like Secret Service.
Got it.
And he was walking around and waving to people like Obama did.
Mhm.
That was kind of
So,
cute.
so people dress in costume for the event
A
then?
lot of people. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, so that's fun.
Yeah. Cosplay is a big thing,
Yeah.
and some of those are professional. So you have professional costumers and just dedicated amateur costumers.
Yeah.
And some of that's
Gladly, I
part
don't
of-
see much of that kind of thing.
Well, you're
Well,
missing out, Barry.
it's a different, and
Um,
There, you can't get away from it.
the guy that did
Well-
pottery in the art show, it was low fire stuff, but he had elven script written around his things. There'd be a bowl, and then along the edge, what is it called when they scratch off and the plied
oh,
flip?
yeah.
Is that intaglio?
Very. That's your department.
Intaglio? They put
Was it
layer-
carved in? Was
yeah,
it carved? Sgraffito.
graffito. Okay, he had that, and then he had it actually painted on. But Elven script, and I have no idea what they said. But he had translations that went with them. But usually he packs stuff very carefully, and like a third of the stuff doesn't make it to the show.
You know,
But
two
this
things I
time
try
it
to avoid is religion and politics.
Oh.
You know, at a show.
Oh,
Now that
yeah.
doesn't mean I actually stay away from that, because
No, I
sometimes
understand.
sometimes I open my mouth, but I'm careful. You can ruin a sale by what you believe. And here's the thing. If they don't believe what you believe, okay, but they want to buy something, are you not going to sell to them because their politics aren't what you respect, or their religion is not what you respect?
Depends
Do
on
you
what
not
kind of
sell?
t-shirt. Depends on the t-shirt they're wearing.
Yeah. I
Do you
would
tell
say,
them to
yeah, it
leave?
depends. I would say it depends upon so many things. I mean, like there's just so many variables. If they just want you to, not exist, then I mean,
Well,
I just, I honestly, I do shows in liberal areas, so I really, for the most part, and I'm not saying everybody, is a Democrat or anything like that, but but generally speaking, the shows I do are
Yeah,
in definitely more progressive places.
I
So
think most shows lean to the customers lean to the left.
Just
They
show
might
me the money.
they may not be whacked out progressives, but they're they vote Democratic.
I think a
Um,
lot of arts are just whacked out. They're not, they're
what?
apolitical.
I was
Oh, I
hoping that
think that people are apolitical,
yeah.
but are whacked out anyway.
See, I thought I was being funny, and I wanted to just slip that in. I didn't want anybody to respond to that. I just because
But you know what? I don't actually believe anyone can be apolitical because you live and breathe in this world. But that's a whole longer discussion.
well, but they're yeah, but not at an art fair. I mean,
Well,
I don't
not
want to be
all of
that.
them, not all of them that come to us can vote anyway, so,
If I
Right.
I mean, if I'm at an art fair, I'm
No, of
renting a
course.
space,
No, at an art fair, you want to obviously keep a positive vibe. But if a customer has a T-shirt on that I agree with, I might say, "Oh, I like your T-shirt," you know,
Okay,
and like that.
I'm going to give you an example. A woman came into my booth, nicely dressed, and she was wearing a new one of those far right TV, TV networks, news something or other,
Mac,
and she really liked the work, and she was really nice, and she bought something, and I was thinking, should I sell to her? Because
Yeah, she wants to round you up and put you in a can, probably.
no,
Mm.
nobody could do that. I won't allow that to happen.
Well,
we
nobody
also
allows it to happen.
we have quite this year we had representatives from, I think, 6 different countries in the show.
Oh,
I listen, as long as we're talking about this, and I really shouldn't
no,
say
wait,
anything.
Kaylee, wait, Kaylee was in the middle, I think, of the middle of the
No,
sentence.
I
No,
just
I'm
said,
sorry.
not everybody is American at the Comic Con show. There were
right,
at
which
least
is interesting.
countries that, we're becoming an international art show, like, the name says.
That's great.
Most were up from Mexico, but
So,
like I said,
so I could,
is Israel and Japan. I don't know where
Mhm.
else. I think there was a French did illustrations.
So I go to the Tucson Gem Show, and there are people from all over the world. And there are some people men who won't actually do business with women, and I don't have to buy from them. And that might be the culture where they come from, but I don't really care. It's like
Yeah.
I'm in business, and you know, so
That might be a religious thing too.
right,
Right.
but I
You know,
still don't care.
Yeah.
I was
Well,
gonna,
when you
I
say you
was gonna
don't care,
mention,
does that mean you won't buy from them?
Correct.
So you do care.
I don't care as far as like, how good whatever they have they're selling, because I'm a human being, and I don't believe in what they believe if they're not going to, deal with a woman, you know, and
Yeah.
at a business, at a professional situation. So like, what, are people not going to deal with a woman president? I mean, it's like, get over yourself. I mean, other countries have had women leaders, prime ministers, um, for, long before, I mean, look, 1968, Israel had one. So,
Hold
it's
to
a
my ear.
professional setting. It's a professional setting. And it just seems like if they want to do business, then, my point is that if because of my gender, they're not going to give me the time of day, I obviously will not do business with them.
That's
I
bad
never
business on
feel
their part
that's right.
by limiting their clientele. That
Right.
what it's so ridiculous. Like
It is
that
ridiculous.
thought
And
process.
I don't even care that it's mental. It's ridiculous, that whole, because of someone's religion, they can't talk to a woman in a business setting.
How
Too
stupid. It's
bad.
stupid.
It is
Mhm.
stupid. And now people have to realize that, people are humans, and we all walk this earth with baggage. We all walk this earth with concerns, but at the end of the day, you
We're all
know,
human, like you
I
said.
will treat you the way I want to be treated, and that's the way it needs to be all around. The golden rule is still the golden rule.
Yeah.
Um,
But
Mhm.
the reality is so far from that. It's
Unfortunately, you're right, Barry. You're right. I did want to mention um oh my gosh. Oh, I'm sorry. A little brain fart there. Allison, you were talking about, have you heard about the economy and blah 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 election? So Marianne and I, we did our first show this year, which was back in April at Arlington, Virginia. And
Mhm.
it was a zero show for us. Two
Okay, that
years.
sucks. I'm
Yep. But we did it. This was our third year. Last year,
Mhm.
Marianne sold a beautiful um, $6,000 painting. And the year before that, um, she sold another $6,000 painting. And it's funny because the first year we did it, a lady bought from her, and then the same lady came back last year and bought again for her office. So that was a blessing. But
Mhm.
and so, Saturday afternoon, we had a lot of people come in. They liked it, but nobody. And our price range was everything from, I would say 700 to 8,500. And but Marianne, I did not get a chance to, but Marianne talked to some of the artists that did some of the Florida shows
Mhm.
earlier in the year, and they said that sales were down in Florida when they were
Mhm.
doing their
Mhm.
shows. And they were mentioning, well, it's kind of cyclical because usually during an election year, it kind of, people like to hold on to their money and to wait to see who becomes president and see what the economy is going to do, and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, okay. And, so um, we really didn't. Now we're in Charleston, South Carolina. Um, we applied to a couple of shows. Like we did Port Clinton last year, which was a very good show for Marianne. Um, it was a great. We did Port Clinton, and then 3 weeks later we did Naperville. Naperville was a zero show, but Naperville gave us the chance to deliver a commission from a couple that came by to visit Marianne at Port Clinton. So that was a blessing, which made the
Mhm.
Naperville show worth going to. But
Uh-huh.
and then our last show for this year is going to be St. James, and
Uh-huh.
um, but now Marianne did Spoleto this year for the first time here in Charleston. It's a local show, and
Mhm.
probably around 60 artists maybe,
Uh-huh.
and it was the best show it's the best show we've had in 3 years. It was a
Wow.
twenty thousand dollar show.
And your
It was
expenses
remarkable.
were low because you were home,
Yes, we got to eat at home, and yeah, so it was really a
which
blessing.
which means you made more money than at any traveling show
We
just
really
because
did.
of that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also
But
everything that you're saying is that even if you have zero shows, one show leads to another. It's a whole career.
well, I got to tell you, we've done. I lost count, but I think we've done 15 shows, maybe 17 shows in 3 years, and probably 10 of them have been zero shows. Now, granted, we did a lot of Florida shows that were zero because we really didn't know what we were doing.
Mm.
I mean, we just been doing this 3 years, and um, with trying to figure out the booth shot and the images to do, and so but this year, 2025, I think we're pretty close to getting it. but
Yeah. Well,
but
the other thing is your price point. You need a show that where people could afford your work because your work is not inexpensive. And
right.
so that's definitely something to consider, like looking at the websites of shows you're considering,
Yep.
in the medium and seeing what the price is. That's fine if there's a range, but
Right. And
you know,
because Marianne does abstract, you know, abstract is it's a niche, and so you got to find your abstract people, and by going to we decided not to do Florida anymore because it really just isn't a niche. Now we had,
Mhm.
and our price point at the beginning was too high, so we dropped our prices, and we kind of came up with a good formula, and it was again, it's a learning curve, and so,
Sure.
but I think,
Can I make a comment? You
go
haven't done
ahead.
enough. You haven't done it enough to actually to have a trend to actually
That's
know.
right.
Because
Exactly.
one year it could be good, and the next year that you know, especially when you're counting on a few people to buy the work, maybe they're on vacation, maybe they went somewhere, maybe somebody died. There's a gazillion reasons why that person didn't come there. So it's a matter
Absolutely.
of how over the
Yeah.
years. So you know,
Are you
we can't come to
collecting?
any conclusions.
It's
you
funny you
kind of? Are
mentioned
you
that,
collect?
Barry. Go ahead, Elson.
No, it's all right.
I was going to
I was
say,
just. Yeah. You go ahead.
I was going to say, Barry,
Yeah.
an artist that we met in Arlington said the very same thing. He said, well, the first show we ever did, we did Los Alamos in Fort Lauderdale, and
Los
then
Olas.
yep, but this past year in Arlington, the artist, and we've had a lot of great mentors, and this guy came up to us and said, hey, I remember you last year, blah 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 blah, and so Marianne, he was talking to Marianne, and I was just kind of overhearing, and he said exactly the same thing. He says, it takes about 3 to 5 years to get traction, and sometimes even longer before you really can
And
get a feel for the show. Sometimes you have to do a show 2 3 times to really get, because when somebody walks through by and they look at a painting and it's absolutely gorgeous and it's $7,500, they go, is this person the real thing, or is this a one-off? Are they, if I drop $7,500 on a painting, are they going to be here next year, or are they just going to vanish? And so, because people
yeah,
work hard for money. And so he basically said, sometimes people will walk the show, they'll look at you and they'll go, I really like that, but I don't know this artist. And, you know, yeah, we have a nice website and everything, but I don't know who this person is. So, hopefully you'll be there next year, and that person may walk back up again and say, I remember you from last year. Do you still have that piece? And so
and you'll say
that was
no.
really
You'll say
helpful
no,
too. Yeah.
But I have this piece, and I'm a year more experienced, and this piece,
Bingo.
this piece is better than last year's, and
That's
you
right.
know.
So,
That's right.
so what I wanted to ask, do you keep a mailing list for the shows
We do.
and let them know that you're going to be there and all that?
Yes. And I do
Because
mail them out. I mail them period. I mail them probably around every other month to let them know, hey, this is a new piece that Marianne just created. It's a 3x5 or it's a 2x2. Just wanted you to know that we're headed to blah de blah show, and we're taking this piece with us.
Yeah, hi.
that's great, because people forget who we
Yeah.
are right away.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Yep.
But
Yep. Barry's on the phone. I mean, Larry's on the phone.
I know.
Yeah. So,
Yeah.
but it's been, we, and again, when we first started out, we did a lot of Howard Allen shows, which was really nice because we got to have the tent guys, set the tent up for us, because we bought a vehicle that is larger now, that can pull a nice trailer. So again, I retire in 2.5 years, but I told Marianne, she taught art. She was an art educator for over 20 years, and when she retired, I told her, okay, you taught art. Now it's time for you to do art. And so she's been painting about 4 years. And then 3 years ago, I said to her, I really want to look into us doing art shows, because a good friend of ours, Tate Nation, he does Spoleto every year. He's a fabulous artist here locally in Charleston. And I kind of did some research on doing the art shows. I found his application, found the Facebook pages, groups, discovered Evan Reinheimer on YouTube. And so again, really discovering a lot of different things. And she said, okay, I'll tell you what, I'll make a deal with you. I'll paint, you do everything else. So I do everything else. She paints.
Interesting.
And it's
Wow,
it's
that's
great,
pretty cool.
and I'm loving it because we did our Alexandra, Alexandra, Virginia, and of course, you're setting up Saturday morning at 4 o'clock in the morning, and
Mhm.
Marianne's just sitting there in her art chair, and I set it up, and she hangs the art, and we're ready to roll. I set the lights up and everything, and so it's been a lot of fun. But we decided we only were going to do 3 shows this year because of what some of the other artists had said. And the other thing is, we didn't want to, we wanted to kind of save that money for 2025, and because
The
you're
thing
looking at
is, it's
25.
like any, but like
Yeah, go
any
ahead.
business, people do have to get to know you. I think you said
Yes.
3 to 5 years. Like any
Yep.
kind of business is like that, and um, people need to get to know you. Of course, you don't want to do. I mean, if you're doing a 0 show, then then there's the, well, does my artwork fit here? That kind of thing.
Right. We had to learn that
And
too, because yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
but I mean, I've been in business for 29 years, and it goes up and down. And I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't feel the recession in 2008 until probably 2 years later. And
Right.
there's, but also there's that building of a clientele. Like you said, you're sending emails out, which is really great. um and and with some shows, if I don't do that well, but I feel like people are interested, and maybe I just do cover my expenses, I might go
Yep.
back because some shows are kind of setups. And then there's also post show sales, when people
Yep.
are ready, for example, which
That's right.
is why you're staying in touch with them.
Yep.
So
Yep. I'll say this last thing. I remember when we first started out, we met a guy. It might have been at Winter Park, or no, it was at Naples. We did Naples New Year's 2 years ago, and we met a great abstract artist, and we didn't sell a thing at Naples. And I think the reason we didn't is because we were overpriced, and that was really hard to come through to
You
really
can't
try
be
to figure out.
overpriced at Naples.
We were.
how do you
Or
know you're overpriced? Like, what do you base that
He
on?
doesn't.
No, I would have
Well-
said the same thing. Naples,
Well-
one of those areas where there is no limit.
well, it's interesting because maybe it was just the fact that they didn't know us. We were brand spanking new. But I remember
You
this one
still
guy.
are.
He said, "Yeah, we are
You're still
exactly.
new.
That's right." But I remember this guy said, people with money will spend money, and so you never have to worry about about the economy or the election or anything like that. And so it's like, okay. But he said, people with money will always spend money. If they want something, they like it, they'll buy it. And I said, okay. But you're absolutely right. We applied to Naples last year and didn't get in. And 2022, which was weird because we got in the year before. But
No, that happens. I mean,
That's so funny.
I know.
These are such naive statements. Yes, that's the way it is. It's a drag.
Yeah.
It's actually-
Sometimes you can't maintain. You have a great show. You have really good customers. You can't wait to see them again the next year, and you don't get in for 3 or 4 years for no
Right.
reason.
as I
Yep.
like to say, it's a very bad business model, because
Yeah.
we just don't know from year to year.
That's true.
I say it's my punishment for not getting that MBA that I had a chance to get.
Mhm.
Oh, there you go. Well, listen, I really appreciate you guys, and it's really it's fun. I'm very blessed that I'm still working, so my job
Just wait.
Yeah, my job can kind of help us get to and from shows, and but it is really it is a learning experience, and I'm learning I mean, literally every month I'm learning something new. So, and
That's
I learn
great
a
that
lot from
you're-
you guys on this Zoom chat. So
Really?
I appreciate you.
Anything.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And that's great that that's great that you're doing that together. That's wonderful.
For
Yeah.
Florida, are the weather patterns and insurance problems affecting the sales? Or
Oh,
having
You
the
know-
show at all?
You know
I
what?
have to say, perfect weather shows are overrated.
Well, I know it, but when the hurricane wipes out, 3
So,
blocks.
you know
that's
what's
where
fun? Katie, do you know what's funny about what you're saying? The bad weather season isn't here yet. So who knows what it's going to be like in Florida? You're applying now, but by middle of November or December, you're going to find out that, oh, I applied to these shows and I got in and I paid all this money, and hurricanes have killed everything. It's
Well,
like
it's not just hurricanes, it's fires.
It's insurance.
So,
fires out west.
Yeah,
right.
but insurance, people can't get insurance, or it's like 3 times what they were paying before.
no, it seems fine. That
I'm
I think with homeowners insurance that it's more affected.
Those are
'Cause I
the
know what
people
you're-
that are buying.
In
I gotta
fact,
run, guys.
about
Thank you so
Florida.
much.
Okay. All right. Bye. In
Mhm.
fact, Haley, I've got some friends that sold a house just recently in Ojai, and they were so glad they sold it when they did because their insurance bill was going to be huge, and they were afraid of that. So yeah, in a lot of states, I mean, I think in Florida, insurance agencies have left. I mean, I don't really know, but
Well,
They-
same thing for here, for California.
yeah, but at shows is not a. So in Sun Valley, we had a microburst come through, and I was holding my cases because I didn't want the jewelry to fall into the grass. It would have been hard to find. And Eric was holding the tent, and around us, like I could hear the crashing of my neighbor's pottery. And
Yeah.
I learned later that a double booth that had 700 pounds of weight flew up in the air and over and knocked out 2 other tents. And it was totally properly weighed. It was, not an easy up and all that. And so they made their tent into a single because they had enough panels and everything left for that. But anyway, it was a very long microburst, because I just remember it felt like holding on for a long time. And then the next day it hailed, but there was no wind, and it only lasted for like 15 minutes. So it was like, okay, that's over. And so I had to pick up something from a customer to resize it. And she showed me her property, a microburst the week earlier had come through and taken out like a bunch of aspen trees. And
Yeah.
they almost seem like tornadoes, these microbursts. So anyway, but I had such an excellent show. So
It didn't matter, right?
the shows with like the really perfect weather were not necessarily good shows. If it's a drizzly rain, that could be a great show.
Well, I don't mean like that. I mean, like, people don't have the money because they're cleaning up after the weather, or, not being able to get insurance, so they don't know if they're
Right.
moving.
Right. That's true too. That's true too. Anyway, my tent leg bent was the only thing that happened. It was easily replaceable. I was going to
Saw
fix
that.
it, but yeah, they sent it, right away. And, it was like, I don't know, $100 with shipping. And I feel like I got off cheap.
Because you didn't
But
have
it
to
makes-
buy a new tent.
Right. Well, I have a backup because I bought a used one a long time ago, light dome. But I don't think they're interchangeable though, because it's an older one. But I was realizing the back of my cases, like my work really won't break if it falls, but I need to have some sort of quick measure to scoop up the jewelry or something before it falls on the ground, should that happen. I don't have to worry about it the rest of this year. But eventually.
So Oscar must not be feeling very well because he's not saying it. That's
Oh,
what
very
do you mean?
unusual.
He's
I'm
driving.
driving.
That never stopped you before.
I'm driving and a traffic jam, so I'm afraid that
All right, focus on your driving.
There he is. Okay. Now we know everything's back to normal.
you know, like this.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, that is back. Oh. That's blurry. Can't see that.
I got an 18-wheeler in my left, an 18-wheeler in front of me, 25,000 cars. I go in bumper to bumper.
All right,
Oh, no.
you focus on your driving. Forget about us, okay? Just listen.
Yeah.
or pull over to the next rest stop and wait an hour or so.
Next rest stop is my house.
Oh, okay.
There you go.
I'm almost there.
So Barry, do you have any more shows this year?
3 more.
3, wow.
I know. And they're coming up. They're like kind of in a row.
Uh-huh.
And
What are they?
Birmingham, Michigan,
Mhm.
St. James Court, and
Oh, yeah.
Bluffton, South Carolina.
Mm.
I don't expect any of the 3 to
I
be
want to get out of here.
great, but
Yep.
Mhm.
they'll be okay.
Uh-huh.
Holy cow.
You know, every once in a while, I get really burnt out and don't want to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how I feel
Understandable.
right now.
Right.
You know, I got pots to fire, which I'm gonna fire the pots, but I didn't make a whole lot of pieces.
Uh-huh.
So, you know, and usually when that for some reason when I do it like that, I sell everything right away. Like I sell everything and go, God, I wish I had made, 3 times as many pieces. So I have that
Yeah.
condition. So if
Right.
I sell everything, I'll be really happy,
Right.
even though I'll regret not having more pieces.
Mm-hmm. But of course, if you have it, you have no guarantee of selling it. So who the hell knows, right?
Well, if I had it, I wouldn't sell any of it, and it'd be raining and everything would get wet, so.
Mm-hmm.
Well, at least your stuff doesn't melt.
Right.
Sort of. Well, I hate the wind, you know.
Yeah, it's the wind that's the biggest problem. A
And
little rain
Allison,
is okay.
I wanted to ask you something. When you're
Mhm.
doing a show, are you tense because of the theft and stuff like that? I mean,
No,
not
no, not at
overtly
all.
tense, but inside.
No, no, I'm not. I'm just in my, sales mode, and
Yeah,
I'm not thinking everybody's trying to steal from me. You just
yeah,
have to be aware, alert, aware.
yeah,
But yeah, no, I'm not tense. I'm just trying to be in my sales mode, not think about, the people suffering in the world, stuff like that. Just go to this sort of place, and um so yeah, it's um but also you have to be smart about things. And so, especially doing what I do.
um, I was dealt a blow today. I went to
Uh-oh.
I opened my car insurance is due in a week, and I actually
Mhm.
opened the envelope to see how much it was. I couldn't believe it. It's 30% higher than it was 6 months ago.
Oh, well, you have to call them then. And
Oh, I walked over there and I said, you got to get me a better deal. This is ridiculous. Well,
mhm.
I wasn't as kind because as I
But
was walking over there, it was building up inside me. Nothing's changed. In fact, I haven't. I don't drive as much as I used to.
But also, because you've been driving for X amount of years, you should get a discount.
Yeah. You would think. You know what it said? 1%.
Uh,
Big deal. $14. 1%. I mean, come on. That's an insult.
Is it the new van?
The new van is a 4-year-old van.
Yeah, I know, but is this the first time you're in?
No, no. Second time.
Insurance went
Hey.
up for everybody this year, Barry. It was not just you.
I know they were laughing at me when
Yeah.
I walked in there, and I said, you're doing business with me. You should not be laughing.
Well, it's more expensive for everybody. It went up considerably. I just don't know how most of you guys didn't get hit. I was getting hit
Huh.
already this year.
I know.
home insurance went up,
Yeah.
but
Robert.
CEOs need to make their profits, right?
Yeah,
Poor
apparently
things.
they need their millions of dollars in bonuses.
Right.
I mean, really, it's unconscionable, I think.
Well, it's greed.
Yeah, well, greed is unconscionable.
Hmm.
Eventually it gets so bad because it's never enough that there's a revolution. People will
There you
revolt.
go.
Through history, that's the way it's been. I mean,
Boiling a frog.
What was that?
Boiling a frog.
Oh, yes, yes, yes. That's
I don't-
right.
what does
The
that mean?
the sabbats she's talking about, right?
You put the frog in the pan in cold water and then slowly heat it up until it's boiling.
Oh,
and he doesn't
that.
jump out. But if you did
Oh,
it all at once, he'd immediately jump out.
Well,
that's funny.
I
I thought you
don't.
were talking about saboteurs.
I
Oh,
don't. I don't think a 30% increase in 6 months is slowly boiling a frog.
well, my storage unit went up 67%.
Jeez.
For no
a lot.
reason. It just sits there.
Yeah. And I asked the manager there, I said, well, did you guys at least get a raise? He goes, no. I think all the guy did was said that the house that's provided with, their contract is now worth more or something. But,
Barry,
Yes.
just wait until 6 months from now when they raise it up another 30% more.
Well, let's hope not. Hey, listen, wait a minute. The prime rate's supposed to go down. Prices should go down. Rates should decrease.
No,
it's
for
only has
insurance.
to do with mortgage insurance or mortgage
We'll
rates.
see.
All right, guys.
I'm no guy.
Okay,
Yes, you
gals.
are.
No, I'm not.
guys and gals.
Well, no.
Gentlemen, ladies, Larry's saying that's enough. We need to go and walk his dog.
All right.
Okay.
How about humans? All right, all humans.
Okay.
Have a good
Okay.
one.
Good.
All
All
right,
right.
guys.
Bye-bye.
Gals.
Bye.
See, you can't avoid it. All right. Bye.
All right, bye.